Lesson 7. We often watch TV programs about history. We have discovered a lot of old things under the ground. These things tell us interesting stories. Can you believe that there were no big wars in the Jomon period? Many people who study Japanese history think so. How do they know that? There were two kinds of stone arrowheads in the Jomon period and the Yayoi period. One was small and the other was large. The small arrowheads were usually used to catch animals. The large arrowheads were usually used to attack people. Many arrowheads in the Jomon period were small, but Yayoi people started to use many large arrowheads. We have discovered human bones with those large arrowheads. These show that there were many wars in the Yayoi period. They made deep ditches around their villages to keep the enemy away. This also shows that there were many big wars in the Yayoi period. Why did Yayoi people start to attack other villages? At the end of the Jomon period, people began to grow rice. In the Yayoi period, they got more rice. They were able to keep the rice in their villages. Soon some villages started to attack other villages to get it. Some of the wars began like this in the Yayoi period. From this story, we learn that the history of wars is not as long as the history of humans. Now we live in the 21st century. We often think that new things are better than old things. We may think that we live in the best and richest time. Some people even say that we have nothing to learn from the old days. But when we learn history, we often discover something which we did not know. This story of the Jomon period and the Yayoi period shows that there are many things we should learn from our history.
Lesson 8. How high can human beings go up? Does it get colder and colder when we go up higher in the sky? How cold does it get? Some 200 years ago, scientists were very interested in these questions about the sky. They started going up to the sky in balloons in the 1780s. After that, many people tried to go higher and higher in balloons. On April 15, 1875, a big balloon was sent up into the sky. There were 3 men in the balloon. They carried oxygen bottles with them. At 8,000 feet, they began to use their oxygen bottles. Their balloon continued going up higher. At 25,000 feet, they were afraid they were going to die because they couldn't get enough oxygen from the bottles. They had to stop going up and began to go back down. In 1927, an American scientist noticed an interesting thing about temperature. He put on an oxygen mask, so he was able to go up much higher in his balloon. At 19,000 feet, the temperature was minus 18 degrees Celsius. His balloon went up higher, and the temperature went down and down. At 31,000 feet, it was minus 35 degrees Celsius. But at 40,000 feet, it was a little warmer. The temperature rose to minus 33 degrees Celsius. This was important new knowledge about the sky. The balloon went up to 44,000 feet and then began to go slowly down toward the ground. 5 years later, a man made a new balloon. The balloon had a closed gondola. There were some pressure tanks in it. It rose to 54,000 feet, and he saw a deep and black world above him. He was the first man to see outer space with his own eyes. Today, scientists have developed new technology, and we know much more about the sky and outer space. But we should not forget these small steps into the sky.
Lesson 9. There are a lot of old weather proverbs in the world. Long ago, people watched the skies and animals carefully and made many weather proverbs. Some people wanted to know when they should go to the sea to catch fish. For these people, weather proverbs were very useful. Have you ever heard any weather proverbs? One of the most popular proverbs in Japan says, "If the west sky in the evening is red, the weather will be nice the next day. If the east sky in the morning is red, it will rain that day." This proverb is often said by people who live in the temperate zone of the earth too. In fact, the red sky in the west in the evening means that the weather in the west is nice. In the temperate zone, the weather often moves from west to east because of strong winds from the west. So if the west sky is red in the evening, you can say you will have good weather the next day. In the same way, if the east sky is red in the morning, nice weather may go away and bad weather may come from the west. So you can say it may rain that day. Another proverb in Japan says, "If a kite flies high in the sky, the weather will be good. If a kite flies low in the sky, it will be bad." Some people say, when the weather is good, a kite often flies high in the sky. It is easy for a kite to find something to eat from there. When the weather is bad, it is sometimes misty, so a kite cannot see well and it flies low to find food. There are many other weather proverbs in different places of the world. Proverbs are sometimes wrong, but it is interesting to learn the workings of nature from proverbs.